on the size of the state, this was the key argument made by Ed Miliband today about this sort of shocking 35% number back to the 1930s. He's very keen to make that argument. I actually asked him a question about this. Yeah. And actually, if you have a look at comparison, so yes, that's the Conservatives. That's implied by the OBR numbers, the sort of government's own autumn statement numbers is 35%. I tried to work out myself, actually, if they borrowed this amount, 38%. That's not an official number. So not a huge difference, actually.
Logically, of course, it's all about the size of the state. But I mean, as you say, when it comes down to it.
Yeah, not a huge difference, exactly, all that. But it's not just the size of the state that matters, really. There's other measures, too. There's the obviously clearly on deficit reduction there is a difference, and on the face of it the difference is that for the Conservatives they'd be cleared by 2018-19 and for Labour it'd be cleared by 2020, but there's a really important difference in that they measure the deficit differently. They strip out capital spending on things like trains and transport and all that sort of stuff. So this is actually much kind of a much looser fiscal straitjacket than that, by as much as £50 billion. But I do expect those differences to kind of emerge into the centre ground as the election battle.
In the meantime, you can see a lot of political capital being made out of that one, can't you? But you look at actually how they're going to do that. I mean, obviously, it all comes down to spending cuts in one way or another, and there are some differences there.
Well, there are and there aren't. Potentially that there are, but what we do know, what they have actually announced is sort of areas that we know that they're going to protect, and with the Conservatives, pretty clear: health, flat in real terms, but no cuts; education, overseas aid. What we heard pretty much from Ed Miliband this morning: health and overseas aid, and a strong hint that schools would be as well. So that's identically the same. So the difference is on that speed of achieving your deficit target. That's what makes the difference, because actually we think they're going to be protecting pretty much the same areas.
And on the other side of the equation, tax. Now, we saw the headlines about actually almost George Osborne stealing the other side's thunder when it came to property tax and stamp duty.
So to a degree they've been very critical of the mansion tax, the Conservatives, but they did, through stamp duty, was a tax on mansions. Now this will only apply when you sell a property. This will apply every year, but it's much lower, and actually Labour will do both. So there is a clear difference there on property. On property taxation, and then lastly on personal taxation, another big difference. Labour will reintroduce the 50p tax rate for those earning more than 150 grand, which of course the Conservatives got rid of a couple of years ago. But for Conservatives there's this £7.2 billion tax allowance shift, that's a £7.2 billion tax cut. But the issue is, and what Labour say, is that is unfunded. So there are some big differences, as well as some similarities.
And lots of fighting over the detail up until the election.
A lot of that for the next 6 months.